on, come on. Let me out of here! What are you doing? Weren't you listening?
I can't believe I let you talk me into this. Seriously, right?
Yeah!
Wow.
We're listening to Martial Secrets with Lawrence Kane
And
Kris Wilder, who sounds suspiciously like your announcer.
I'm Lawrence Kane, he's Kris Wilder, and this is Martial Secrets.
Yeah, I almost said it simultaneously with you so that it would sound like NPR Delicious Dish or whatever it is, you know.
You
Today,
listen to NPR?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, everybody, you've now learned a deep, dark secret about my co-host here.
Okay, I'll tell you a deep, dark secret right here. You see this? You see this pencil I've got in my hand? You see that pencil you've got in your hand? Take a look at them.
Yeah.
Take a look at the tips. Yeah, do you see those? I sharpen my pencils without a pencil sharpener because I got a knife. Yeah, maybe I listen to NPR sometimes, but I got a knife, okay? That's how I sharpen my pencils.
All right, well, I got a knife too, but, I use it as a box cutter most of the time.
What's on the agenda for today?
Today, we are starting off with 23 guys.
23 guys. There's so
Not
much
what you think.
I'm not, okay. And then pad night. We're going to talk about pad night when it gets down to the training tips.
Kids, sugar, caffeine, and Roman candles.
Sounds like a 4th of July. And this one is He Really Tried to Kick You.
You got it.
That's going to be under free space. What's with this 23 guys
23 guys. So here's an interesting thing. Guys like watching football. At least I do. And apparently so do felons. Because there was a little report that came out from the Hoquiam police. They've been looking
now,
to
Hoquiam is a community out here in Washington State.
Right.
It's kind of out on the peninsula a little bit, sort of that way.
Yeah, it's a former logging town, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, okay.
Small town, not huge like Seattle, but it's not too small. Of a
Yeah,
place.
so they don't have a large budget, so they got to operate smart.
Exactly. They got to operate smart. So they had a bunch of felony warrants, and it was really difficult for them to find the guys who were wanted. There's 23 of them who were wanted for these warrants because they never knew exactly where they were going to be. And of course, with not having a really large police force, spending a lot of time searching for them was a challenge. So they decided to be smart. And when the Seahawks got into a playoff game, they figured everybody would be home watching TV. And guess what?
They were.
They were.
And so they arrested 23 guys on outstanding warrants. Is that right?
You got it.
Wow.
In fact, a quote from the chief is, officers were going place to place and locating someone just about each time. Normally in the past, it's not the good of luck. That's not a very good sentence.
No.
When people are actually home. But the Seahawks brought the world to a stop, with the exception of our warrant sweep.
I just have to say that I think that is a brilliant piece of work on behalf of the Hoquiam Police Department, and I just have to give them major kudos. It's like, I want that guy working for me because that is an excellent use of time, manpower, and finances.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it pays to be sneaky, right? If you're got to go find someone who's got a warrant out for them, they're certainly going to be trying to avoid you. So, good tactics.
It's training tip time.
Training tip time. And today we're going to talk about pad night.
Yeah. I got this guy. He's a former boxer, trained quite a bit. I had him come in, and he spent some time with us training. He's got other skills too, and it was like, hey man, show us how to work the pads. Excuse me, and he did. And I have to tell you that the skill level, the response, and the just the enjoyment of running pads changed when he got there, because what he started to do was he started to demonstrate some really creative drills, but they weren't necessarily punch 1 2 1 2 1 2 or this kind of thing. And for you hockey fans, It wasn't like go, 1, 2, 4, 5 hole, that kind of thing. It was really about the principles that were involved in how to use that pad. So the first thing he had us do was we were working the glove hand pads,
Right.
And he was having people punch them and so forth, and boom, 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 like that. And we're just lined up and we're doing static, and we're punching, like I said, like maybe, a hockey goalie might think about it, 1, 2, 1, 2 kind of thing, left, right, left, right.
Right.
But then what he did is after we got done with getting that just basic pattern down, what he started to do is he started to have the person who was running the pad actually physically go out and meet the punch as it was coming, to provide resistance instead of just standing there and letting it get slapped back. And also getting the pad back into its target area if it has been knocked out. Really a big deal, because it doesn't slow down the training.
Oh, absolutely. That's a key thing when you're doing any kind of a partner drill is to really make it active, because if you're just standing there spacing out, holding the pad while someone else is hitting it, you're not learning anything, right?
No, and by the time we were done that evening, and there were some more aspects to the training here, but by the time we were done that evening, the people who were holding the pad, were not thinking of it as a piece of downtime anymore. It was a part of the integration of the training, and they were working hard too. It was impressive, the result that we got out of that.
Absolutely, and it shows kind of a neat principle, and that is, cross training. I mean, you teach a very traditional style of martial arts, traditional karate, but the modern boxing stuff fits just seamlessly into that because they're both striking arts.
Well, it is. I mean, there are some differences in the respect to how the techniques are applied and so forth. Because
I'm referring to the training drill.
Yeah,
not that,
yeah, the training drills. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because there are a lot of really significantly beneficial training skills that can come out of working those pads in really the way that a boxer does it, and not trying to make it into a karate training, but just saying, okay, well, tonight we're going to work this, and it's going to look a lot like boxing because, well, gosh.
It is.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting, though, because the borrowing some of those the pad drills and some of the movement and stuff from the boxing is beneficial, just like for a boxer training without gloves. With karate folks is really beneficial. I mean, we've all seen the boxer's fracture where somebody, hit somebody incorrectly because they're used to having their hands taped and wearing gloves and everything. But there's also the size of the openings are different, right? I mean, if somebody's got this big old bulb of a pad on the end of their hand, that's a different size and shape of opening necessary than if you've got the ungloved, untaped hand.
The profundity of your comment has made me choke. Yes. And the fact is that the glove size does change your methodology. So yeah, the drills. You can go get a book on drills, or you could go find yourself a boxer, which I really recommend. If you've got a boxing gym around and you're a martial artist, you teach a striking art, go ahead, go see a boxing gym, go visit that boxing gym, see if you can make a friend. See if you can get some training tips. If you want to, get a book, get a DVD, go look up something on YouTube if you want. But I have to say that it has been really well received by the students. They love it.
Oh, absolutely. And there's all kinds of different types of pads that you can use. There's the little hand target pads. There's the big shield types. You can even use a heavy forearm shields, right? You can even use a heavy bag for doing pad kind of work. I mean, there's a lot of different drills that you can do with different types of materials, and honestly, it's not that expensive to get a hold of that kind of stuff. There's always used equipment around you can pick up pretty cheap.
Well, the thing that I think that's really interesting about it is that when I was coming up in the dojo and in the ranks and so forth, we would hold a shield and we would kick it and we would practice, those kinds of things, but we never really assembled it into a series of active training drills. I mean, sure, we spent time, shifting and moving and all of those kinds of things as we would, but But I have to tell you, you know, that the boxers, and this is their pond. They know what they're doing. They're swimming in it. And so you can go out there and kind of do like I did, which was kind of stumble around with it and have fun with it. Or you can go see what these guys who spend hours on the bags and on the pads and see how they're doing it.
Yeah, and you know, hey, plagiarism is a serious form of flattery, at least when it comes to drills in the dojo, right?
At the dojo.
At the dojo, kids class and hyperactivity tips.
Yeah. Okay. If anybody out there is running a class that has children in it, you've no doubt had the parent come in with the child that is hyperactive, whether it's a true diagnosis or an assumption on their part. And, you know,
or just someone with a lot of energy, right?
Yeah. You know, a lot of energy today gets just blamed as hyperactive. And, you know, this is what I'm going to do. I'm king for a day, Lawrence. All right. Thank you for allowing this. And this is what I'm going to do for middle school. I'm going to actually give boys an extra recess. And that recess is what I call the cage recess, where they get locked into a hurricane-fenced play area that has a large pond in it and a 50-gallon drum that is stocked full of sticks. And you just throw them in there and let them be boys for about 20 minutes and then bring them back to class. I think it's going to heal a lot of the hyperactiveness. And yes, there will be stitches, but you know, hey, have you ever had stitches?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so have I. So's my kid. I mean, everybody's had stitches. I mean, it's sort of a thing. You gotta have your set of stitches.
Yeah,
but
it's
anyway.
interesting though. I mean, I know you're kidding, but in a bit of seriousness, there aren't a lot of outlets. If people have a lot of energy, especially younger males, and you know, girls too to some degree, there aren't a lot of outlets for them to burn that off in school, right? They have to sit quietly, eyes on the teacher, you know, so on and so forth. And so a lot of parents that see this are bringing their kids to martial arts to get them a chance to burn some of that off. And the challenge is that they really don't know how to pay attention well, other than the, you know, getting yelled at every time they act out. So you have some tips of how to actually use that energy in a positive way and help them learn at the same time, right?
Yeah, well, actually, it's just one big major tip, and that is this: is that when these kids come in, whether, you know, let's just call them hyperactive, whether we really know it to be true or not, I make sure that I don't admonish them for that hyperactivity, because they get it all the time. And I want them to be successful, and I want them to have a good time. And if they're having a good time, they will be successful. I think the two tumble on one another. So here's the deal. The dojo is a place to be loud and kick and jump and boom, you know, and all those kinds of things. It is absolutely the antithesis of school.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
In a lot of respects. So here's the deal. I tell a kid, and I'll pull him. It's just like I did the other day. I pull him aside. I say, "Hey, listen, Bobby. I know that you really are full of a ton of energy, and I never use that hyperactive or attention deficit disorder. I don't use those.
Oh yeah,
phrases.
you never want to put that on someone.
No,
yeah.
no. And so what I say is, I notice you got a lot of energy, and I love it. I love the way that you move. I love the way you go after that bag. I love it. I don't want you to stop doing it. I do need you to do this for me. I need you to be able to follow the rules. So when I say your name, look at me. Put your eyes on me. It doesn't mean you're in trouble. What it means is I need you to see what I'm going to teach you next.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's another trick. I'll actually steal one of your tips, and that is, don't spend more time in any segment of the class with kids than the average age of the folks there. So if they're a bunch of 10-year-olds, no more than 10 minutes on any one thing, because their attention's not going to last that long. They're going to drift to something else. But if you want to keep it high energy, high focus, you know, 10 minutes on one subject, 10 minutes on another subject, 10 minutes on another subject, you've got your class, right?
Yeah. Well, the basic rule is this: take your kids, add up their ages, and then divide by the number of children you have, and there you've got your average, and that's how many minutes you have. But in regard to the kids that are labeled attention deficit or hyperactive, listen, you're not going to have success with every one of them. That's just the way that it works. But you can make a dent in them, and you can make the dojo a safe place to be, where when they hear their name, an admonishment isn't coming, but it's an opportunity for success.
Oh, absolutely. And what it does is it gets them excited, it gets them engaged, and it also helps them burn off some of that energy and to really focus it in a positive way where they're actually learning something. And it's cool. It's really rewarding, honestly.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I point my two fingers at them. I'll say their name. I'll go, "Hey, Bobby," and I point those two fingers at them, and they'll look at me, and then I'll point the two fingers back at myself, like I'm watching you. And I grin when I do it. It's like, hey, come on. And I find that I get response with it because it's positive. It's not sit still, put your feet on the floor, pay attention to what's going on. Don't do that. Stop tapping your pencil. Go play with your squish ball. Quit bouncing on your seat. All of those kinds of things. So anyway, that's the tip. That's the at the Dojo Kids class hyperactive tip of the day. You know what time it is now, Lawrence?
It's free space time.
It's free space time. and it happened at the dojo. And I want to tell this story.
Stadium. This is stadium one today, right?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said dojo.
Did I?
You did.
Okay, all right.
I mean, we can do that if you want.
No.
But I think the stadium's more fun.
It happened at the stadium, yeah. I like to tell this story, and it involved an entire kung fu school that came to the stadium and attacked you with flying sidekicks.
No, not exactly.
But why don't you tell the story about what happened? Because I just love this story. So everybody, sit back. Grab yourself a cup of your hot or favorite cold beverage and enjoy the tale of he really tried to kick you?
Yes, he did. This was interesting. I had a situation where there was a couple of fans that were getting out of control. Kind of thing normally happens. And in this case, we broke them up and said, hey, look, you have that opportunity. You can leave in handcuffs with the officers over there, or you can just give me your ticket, leave, and don't come back. And most people will take that option. There's less paperwork. It's easier for them.
Are you like pointing at the officer and going, this guy can take you, or you can give me your ticket? And
pretty much, yeah. I do a lot of making the officers the bad guys, and they love it because it keeps me it keeps me doing their work, and they don't have to do anything. Right?
Okay.
So, and honestly, I really don't want to have to arrest people if I have the opportunity. I'd rather just have them, leave and let everybody else have fun watching the game, right? Yeah. So this guy, I got him separated, started walking him out, and he actually wasn't the one that started the altercation. So I really didn't want, it to end badly for him. And so he's starting to walk out, and he's sober, which is kind of unusual. Not. I mean, a lot of people are sober that get in fights, but generally they're drunk. I'd like to
point out that you're telling me that at this stadium, that it is unusual for somebody to be sober.
No, it's unusual for somebody to get in a fight to be sober.
Oh, okay, all right, I understand that.
Good point of clarity.
Okay.
So I'm starting to walk this guy out, and as we get close to the gate, he's realizing, hey, I really have to leave here. And
now he's in front of you.
He's in front of me. Yeah,
like what, 2-3 feet? Yeah,
2-3 feet in front of me. I'm basically I'm having him walk. I almost always walk behind someone when I'm making him leave because honestly, I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
And if they're behind me, that leaves me vulnerable. It also allows them to bolt, right? So I'm walking this guy out, and you can kind of see he starts to slow down. I'm like,
there's a change.
Yeah, this he's going to do something stupid, right? So I'm expecting he's going to turn around and start woofing or maybe throw a punch or whatever. And all of a sudden I see his foot come flying at my head.
Now, I'm like a mule kick type?
Like a roundhouse kick. This is like, Chuck
pivoting.
Norris. Oh, yeah.
He's gone full Chuck Norris on you?
Oh, yeah. And first of all, I've never had anybody do this before. And at the time, this is many years ago. I'm a green belt, right? And in our art, you never kick above the waist. So I'm not really used to people kicking at my head. But But the thing is that it happened because he did this full spin around thing. It happened almost in slow motion to me. And I know it was quick, but I mean, it was kind of like a, wow, look, he's trying to kick me and it's coming at my head. So I've been practicing this thing with Mike where we're doing a scoop block of a lower kick. And it just sort of naturally fit to me to step in a little bit and do the same thing with this kick that was aimed at my head. And it worked quite well. In fact, I not only got a hold of his leg, I actually ended up planting his ankle on my shoulder and holding it. So he was hopping around on one leg.
I'm going to call that a not a good place to be.
Not a good place to be at all. No. And of course, there's the state patrolman who's just this massive dude. He's like 6'9" and like, 260 and 5% body fat kind of guy who's been watching this the whole time. and so I get this guy's leg on my shoulder and I start hopping him. I'm walking backwards and he's hopping, trying not to fall down or do the splits. So I'm moving towards the cop. And the officer looks over and goes, I could come back if you'd like to hurt him a little. And which I thought was kind of cool. He wasn't serious, obviously, but it was funny. So I bring him over and I hand him the cop and say, hey, look, this guy tried to kick me in the head. We're gonna have to we're actually gonna have to press charges here. And long story short, the officer spent some time talking with this guy. And if you think about it, how many people can actually kick you in the head? Who has the flexibility, the skill to do it, right? This guy obviously had some kind of martial arts training. And I assumed it's probably some kind of Korean style, like Taekwondo or whatever, because, most traditional karate, you don't kick to the head.
It's not your go-to.
No, it's not your go-to thing. I mean, there's kicks, of course, but not the spinning roundhouse kind of thing.
So he's like probably, early 20s and...
early to mid 20s, something like that. Hard to tell, but he's a college student.
Yeah. Okay.
And so the officer decides, hey, what school do you train at? And the guy says, oh, I take Taekwondo. I'm a black belt, and talks a little bit. Doesn't say where, but says what he does. And I'm thinking, a black belt tried to kick me in the head. Wow, that's pretty serious. It's a really good thing that I was able to stop this. And I also started thinking, what would Kris do if I did something like that to somebody? So I looked at him and I said, you know what? I'll tell you what.
Making those wristbands with that, what would Kris do?
Actually, I was thinking about, getting thrown out of the dojo and getting the crap beat out of me. But,
yeah, you wouldn't be coming back. That's for
not
sure.
at all. So I thought, you know what? I think it's a better lesson to teach this guy to have a talk with his instructor than it is to just have him arrested. So I said, talked to the officer. I said, hey, if he's willing to say who his instructor is, and I can have a talk with his instructor, can we not press charges? And goes, you're the victim. That's fine with me. So I look at the guy and say, who's your instructor? He won't say. So look, you tell me who your instructor is, you tell me where your dojo or dojang or whatever it is happens to be, and I won't press charges. And he wouldn't do it.
Well, I'll tell you what, the last thing I would want as an instructor is to have some authority figure, whether it's stadium representative or a police officer showing up and saying, I want to talk to you about one of your students.
Oh, I know.
Because I'm going to have that conversation and I'm going to find out what happened, and then I'm going to have another conversation. And at the end of that conversation, I don't think you're training with me anymore, because you just tried to take the head off of an authority figure.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, honestly, a kick to the head's pretty dangerous, and you can really hurt somebody, and doing it for no reason like that, I mean, because I interrupted you, I want to get back to this point. He actually went to jail. Oh, yeah. He wouldn't answer, so he went to jail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So he would actually take an arrest and go to jail and a court date, then, or a fine or whatever it might be, then tell then find out. Wow.
Yeah, it was, the original charge was aggravated assault, but they pled it down to, I don't remember what it was. It was something, he pled it down to something fairly minor, but it was more of a slap on the wrist and a few days in jail kind of thing. But yeah, he I mean, they could have, if the prosecutor had wanted to, he could have actually spent probably 6-8 months in prison for that.
See, I'm thinking that this guy's thought process just isn't very good from the get-go.
No, I wouldn't think so. But, hopefully he learned something out of it and he won't do it again.
Well, there you go. There's it. It happened at the stadium, and the little story we like to call, he really tried to kick you. Thanks for tuning in for Martial Secrets. As always, we appreciate you taking the time out of your day or evening or whatever it might be to take a listen to what we have to say, and hope that you find some benefit in it.
I'm Lawrence Kane. Be safe, everyone.
And I'm Kris Wilder. Be well.
Nice work.
Hi, this is Kris Wilder from Martial Secrets. Martial Secrets is free, but it's not costless. So tell your friends about Martial Secrets. Your good words are the best endorsement we can have. Also, if you like what you hear, buy one of our books, buy one of our DVDs. We think they're pretty good, and we think you'll find value in them too. As always, we appreciate you listening and your support. You can find us pretty quickly by just going to Amazon.com, typing in Lawrence Kane or Kris Wilder, and you can find all of our books and DVDs there. Thanks for listening, and be well.